It's 12 o'clock. We'll start the meeting. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of the flag. The invocation will be given today by the Reverend Dr. Ruggles.
Almighty Creator, we thank you for the many gifts that you have given us. We ask that you look over everyone in the city and give them a joyous holiday season. We also pray for the people who had an accident out on 33 on Sunday. May you be with them. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown? Here. Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Here.
Mrs. Rose?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana? Mayor Panto?
Present. We'll move right along to the approval of the agenda.
Motion.
Moved in second. Any additions or deletions or corrections? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. Action on our minutes of the December 11th meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye. Public comment on agenda items only. Anyone here would like to address City Council on agenda items only?
Tony Claypatch, 1974 Mercer Way. Just had a comment on bill number 37 regarding reducing the height limit in DD. Honestly, not for that. It seems like a very knee-jerk, short-sighted reaction from last week.
No, it's not. It's actually been planned for it's basically planned to be in our new zoning code. It's been talked about for ever since the 6th Street project.
So why is the city trying to reduce it then?
The city's only trying, my recommendation is that we reduce it in the neighborhoods, not in the business and what we consider the downtown district. The downtown district doesn't extend from the river to the 7th Street. There's a neighborhood in there too, for the downtown neighborhood. And this is basically to restrict 7-story buildings in neighborhoods. And the neighborhoods are all those neighborhoods, all those buildings that are not on Northampton Street or 3rd Street. Basically our business improvement and entertainment district.
So basically we're just going to get 3 or 4-story buildings? Is that?
That is correct, yes.
That's disappointing.
Why is that?
I think 3 is max.
Well, it goes against the legislative intent of the downtown zoning district as is in the ordinance. I mean, it's to encourage walking, cycling, and getting around town in a dense environment. I mean, right here, we got the transit center back here, and having more people living downtown is great.
Living in a residential neighborhood downtown, that I do have concerns with the scale. I mean, if you looked at that proposed building, especially the side view of the Fourth Street development, it's way out of scale. Those buildings that are next door are already pretty large, and they whited them out in the rendering. I think from the perspective of someone living downtown and who even small business owners have come up to me and they were like, I understand the need for Center Square or Northampton or 3rd Street, but these are neighborhoods still. We are a neighborhood downtown, and we should be treated like we treat the other neighborhoods in the city as well. I mean, we're just to build out every single spot. I have major concerns with it, the scale.
May I just make a suggestion? I think it's fine to introduce this today, so we have a pending ordinance. But I do suggest that before you vote on it, it be referred to the Planning Commission, because I do not recall any zoning changes being submitted to the Planning Commission for their initial review, and that is generally the process.
We haven't. This has become, as a result of the 6th Street project and the 4th Street project in neighborhoods, this has become an issue that I thought I would address quickly, rather than the recodification of the zoning code is going to take at least the city administration at least 2 months to review.
No, I understand that. I'm just suggesting that with a comment like this and other comments people may have, including what do the planning commissioners think, it might be valuable input The next hearing, next meeting of the planning commission is January 15th, so that if you postponed an actual vote to adopt and perhaps get some feedback, you still could vote for January, but you've introduced it, so the pending ordinance rule has so many different catches to it that I don't want to give any opinion as to whether mere introduction is sufficient, but it may be, because any developers.
Well, then we'll do it at we'll approve it at our second meeting.
Well, yeah, I'm just suggesting, if you want to.
No, it's a good suggestion.
If you don't want to, yeah, because I
It's a
think.
good suggestion, Mr. Shear.
I would like to see it added to the next committee meeting with Dwayne present too, because I think him walking us through it would be helpful as
Okay.
well.
Sounds good.
And Tony, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think even with this ordinance, there's still plenty of places downtown that we can still go high to still get the population you're speaking of, which I agree with, without negatively impacting the residents.
Well, you also have the ability to go to a zoning code and get a variance.
Yep.
If it's a really well-planned building, not something ultra-modern, you do have the opportunity to go to zoning code and zoning board and get a variance.
Yeah, if you get a the only way you.
Oh,
the
that's
only,
right.
The only way
Talk
someone
about it.
should be allowed a variance is if the land cannot be developed in conformity with zoning because of unique physical characteristics, and
So a hardship.
and well, you have to. The hardship has to be because it's not going to be that you're going to build higher up. It can't be financial. It has to be that. If you're allowed a two-story building, how could you get a variance for a 10-story building? You couldn't do it logically because the land is suitable for development in conformity with zoning. That's where you either allow it or you don't allow it, or you do it by special exception, and then you could at least go into some other criteria. One of the things I thought was interesting in the recent newspaper article about the zoning hearing that never happened and about the quote parking, there's no variance for parking if you meet the criteria of zoning, which allows you to say, I have X number of parking spots. And so you're not asking for the variance unless you can't get those spots and you're asking for relief from the zoning requirement.
But isn't it a self-created hardship?
What?
In some cases, like the variance that they're asking for, it's that they've created the hardship within their own plan.
Well, you'd have to. The only variance I saw on that 4th Street, from what I could see from the application, was that it doesn't meet it doesn't fit in with the heights of the various buildings, the context requirement that we have within our zoning. That's only self-created because it doesn't match.
But Joe,
Which means by the definition I just gave you, there's no hardship.
But that same building, if they wouldn't get parking from the parking garage, and they would come to planning,
They'd have to.
they created the hardship because there was no parking before they tried to build there.
And they had to go in there knowing that. Therefore, they're asking us to open up parking in the parking garage.
Our zoning allows you to find parking anywhere within 600 feet.
Right.
So it isn't tied into city-owned parking garages.
But what my question, and I understand that, and I thought it was 700, so I'm glad to tell me it's 6. But my point is, they already got the parking garage, so then they don't need the variance for parking. But if there was no parking within 600 feet, they would have to prove a hardship that there's no parking. But they created that hardship by building where there's no parking.
The argument for anybody who opposed it would be to say, well, you could develop this lot to have on-lot parking. I don't know how you'd get it. You might have to build a parking deck. That's up to them to figure out.
Right.
I don't disagree that you build up instead of out. I agree with that concept. But I also agree that the neighborhoods should be protected. And I look at a lot of the neighborhoods downtown that aren't protected, such as where Crystal lives down on the 100 block of Spring Garden Street. It's a neighborhood. It's all 2.5, 3-story buildings, and I agree with that. So I introduced it to try to get it resolved so that we don't have another A&R or 4th Street happen before we actually do the zoning recodification. But I agree with you in concept, but just like I agree about the parking variance. We have 30% occupancy at night on the 4th Street garage. I would love them to use that, if that. I would love them to use that and take that 60 cars and get a parking agreement with the city and pay $70 a month. I think that'd be great. People complain about our garages, they don't use them well, force the neighbors to use them. And restrict the on-street parking permits for $100 a year.
I mean, we are having some issues with the residential permits. I know Councilman Pinnabone has received complaints. I actually just received a complaint yesterday afternoon when the 4th Street garage was full. There's someone who lives in the Seville building who couldn't find a spot and couldn't get into the garage when she got home from a family holiday party in the afternoon around 4 o'clock. I met with,
had a show.
well, but where is she supposed to park?
No, I understand that.
I just had a meeting with the city administrator, Mr. Campos, prior to this meeting to go over it, and I think we're going to dig into it some more, but we're not holding enough spots for
This is the only city that complains about
resident
parking.
permit. But
It's the only city.
it's
Bethlehem
the
and
only-
Allentown have the same problem, but you don't hear it, and you don't see any complaints about it.
I agree that it's sometimes a good problem to have, but we also, if someone has a residential permit that we're giving them, we have to hold enough spaces in that garage so that when they get home, they have a place to park. Because otherwise, they're feeding a meter if they can find a spot, or where else do they go? I mean, I offered to pay out of my own pocket her meter, but she couldn't even find a spot downtown because it was so busy.
Well, I mean, I
We're not
sympathize
holding. We're
with
not
that.
holding enough spots
Well,
through
I
the system. We
sympathize
should be
with that,
preventing.
But the point is, I used to live up by Lafayette, and I knew when we were going to have a football game, and I knew if I had a football game, I wasn't going to be able to park.
I think it's reasonable to think you're going to have a parking issue, Garlic Fest weekend or Bacon Fest, but the State Theater has shows throughout the whole year. They should have we should be holding enough spot for the residents when they get home, because that's what the city has decided that we can allot. We can allot those residential permits for some of these projects. I would be upset too. Some of these people are telling me that they don't leave from Friday night till Sunday, and they Uber everywhere and get their groceries delivered because they're afraid sometimes that they're coming home during the busier weekends and can't find a spot that was either included with their rent or they're paying for.
I think that's a concern when you're paying $70 a month, I believe it is, for a parking spot, and you might not have a parking spot. That just I don't understand the point of why would I pay for one if I'm not guaranteed one.
Yeah, I think we have to fix that issue before we start offering additional residential permits. We have to get an idea of we've got to leave
But yet
enough
we don't
of those
have a
spots
limit.
open.
So you're willing to limit the on-street parking permits? Because we have more than that. We have more
I am
parking
open
permits.
to discussing that. I think that you have to look at the city in quadrants, because there are different. Some areas of the city have more open parking than others.
Yeah, the on-street parking is the blue, gold, and I think they really need to be reevaluated.
Well,
and-
Gold says you can park anywhere downtown.
But I mean, all those color, I think they all should be reevaluated for the on-street parking.
Well, staff discussed parking, the P word, last week at our staff meeting, and we talked about the possibility of doing having another parking study done. We did two since I've been mayor, and the problem is they tell you the same thing. They're going to tell you the same thing, that when you have events such as the State Theater, which only has 70 shows now a year instead of over 125, you're going to have problems. And right now they have a matinee and a show, so you have a 4 o'clock and a 7 o'clock. I don't know what to tell people. I mean, I was downtown Friday night and Saturday night for dinner, and I had problem parking. But I expected it.
But
Mayor, what is
someone with
the
a
issue with these
residential.
two? Go ahead, Crystal.
Some of the but with a residential permit in the garage that you're paying for, in Allentown, some of the parking lot floors, they're usually the upper floors, and some of the parking garages are marked residential permits only. I know that it would probably be unreasonable to say oh, we have 165 permits, so we have 165 spaces need to be blocked off, but you have to block off some of them. We can't just say it's a free for all and not reserve any parking for some of these permit holders, because that's where
You're
we're getting
asking us
ourselves
to
in a pickle.
keep a space open that somebody's willing to pay for and not getting income. I have no problem.
I think we're saying if we can keep a space open
It's already
for
paid
somebody
for.
that's already paid for it,
Yeah.
because they're paying for
We
it.
need
the
to
month.
allot a certain number and not let people in. So maybe it is. I'm just throwing this random number out. This isn't the exact number, but 20% of the spaces, based on X number of residential permits for that garage, you can't let other people in, you have to cap that so that those people have a place to park when they come home. I mean, there just needs to be better parking garage management in this case, because it's not just one person complaining. I understand it's not a daily issue.
I just had a question on the State Theater, and I don't know the answer to this. Mayor, maybe you can even help me with this. State Theater does have parking on top of their own rooftop that they never use. I don't know why they do
They
it,
use it for shows.
but shows. But I'm saying it could alleviate a lot of tension if they allowed their people that come into the State Theater to be able to use the top.
But they use it for the shows.
They use it for the shows.
The shows, the people that are doing the shows, they
And
don't.
the biggest problem you have is the elevators there, and so you have some of these shows like during the Christmas holiday is 3 tractor trailers and they're parked up there, so they only have about 30 spaces.
Mayor, this is extremely premature, but I spoke to Lewis, and you and I spoke the other day in the car to Harrisburg, and I spoke to Executive McClure about the possibility of the State Theater utilizing surface parking at the county. And maybe we look at providing a shuttle service, which would be a hell of a lot cheaper than debt service on another parking garage, to alleviate the parking on those days. County Executive McClure said he's willing to have the discussion. I just think those 70-some days or whatever, it would eliminate the parking there.
You're never going to get in Easton a person to park up at the county and get on a shuttle if there's a space somewhere downtown, because they're going to park there. It's a proven fact that people park on the street before they park in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
I parked in the garage on Friday night and Saturday night, I had no problem. Parking on the street was a problem.
Yep.
But they're not going to park in the garage, and they're not going to take a shuttle.
I was Saturday night. It was kind of crowded because when I came and I parked in here, it was 47 open spaces.
Oh,
so it wasn't crowded.
that's not wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Is that wrong?
We haven't reset it since
Okay.
we had the
I mean, the other thing with just another issue with the State Theater is everybody gets out at the same time.
Right.
And if you're shuttling people, you can only carry so many people in the shuttle. So people are there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to, get transportation back to their car. I mean, it's a problem that's associated with that type of, facility that we have. And, I understand how the parking is an issue on certain events, but to me that's part of being a city. I mean, it's part of being in the city. You're going to have events and you're going to have parking issues, and that's
Which I don't disagree with, Councilman. I think it's a good problem to have, as was stated earlier. My main concern is we're charging somebody for a parking spot, and then we're not allowing them to access that parking spot. We're essentially renting the same parking spot numerous times. That's a concern I have. If you're coming home, you're paying ahead of time, you want a parking spot, you don't have one because we rented it a second time. That's a concern. Not so much for the visitors, but for the resident.
Agreed.
Or don't charge the residents and let them, it's a free for all. They get what they get, right? Which I don't agree with. But if we're renting it, then we should at least make sure there's one spot for that person that's paying for it.
I agree.
I just want to clear something up. On the agreement, you're not guaranteed a spot.
Which is fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone.
Which is
understands
fine.
that.
But if,
We're not. It's not. We're not. The city is disclosing that fact.
understood. I'm not saying we're doing it underhanded, but we're still doing it.
And I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. I'm just telling
Right.
you what
So
the process is.
we're charging them for the privilege to park in the parking garage, and
For the possibility.
and we don't know if that spot will be available.
in our agreement with those.
Right.
I thought there was one available, wasn't there? No. Okay.
I guess we can talk, if we're going to put that on the agenda next meeting, we can talk about it then.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Thanks,
talk
Tony.
about
We'll talk about
Go
it.
back to forks now.
We'll put that on the next planning committee meeting and the meeting for the
Yeah, you're past your 20
I
minutes
know.
right now, so.
Okay, moving on. Is there any other public want to speak on agenda items only? Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Sure, we have the following resolutions for approval for certificates of occupancy for 444 Ferry Street, 100 to 116 Northampton Street, 33 North 5th Street, 26 North 2nd Street, 77 North 4th Street, 233 Ferry Street, and 121 to 23 North 3rd Street.
I move the consent agenda.
Second.
I move the consent agenda, which is moved and seconded, and then roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
No reports received by council, no reports of committees. We'll go into that real quick. Finance Committee, Mr. Brown.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We have unfinished business today. We have bill number 31, amended to 285 fees. Also, we have the bill 32, which is a non-residential tax. I will be introducing two bills, bill 34, trash and sewer fee, and also bill 35, which is a tax rate for all city residents. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Economic Development Committee, Mr. Pinnabone.
Thank you, Mayor. I have under new business 14, letter C, what I proposed at the last meeting to eliminate 5th Street and 6th Street into the handicap parking regulations for the downtown entertainment district. Also, this past Wednesday, I had the pleasure of being invited to the governor's residence for the holiday party along with Mayor Panto. I picked up a peace candle ornament from the Winter Village and gave it to the governor, and he immediately brought myself and the mayor over to his Christmas tree to hang it. So that was exciting. Governor Shapiro was in Easton last week, touting his Main Street program. And also last week, myself and Councilwoman Crystal Rose hosted a public discussion with the 13th Street warehouse developers and the public. Got off to a little rocky start. I wasn't sure if we were going to continue, but it worked out well. And I mean, the overall feeling was nobody wants the warehouse, but at least questions were answered and the dialogue was had. That's all I have, Mayor.
Planning and Codes Committee, Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended last Monday's zoning hearing meeting last week. I know we just touched on the proposed development on 4th Street, North 4th Street. I think that the meeting was a little eye-opening for me as far as public notifications and also the access to information prior to some of these meetings. So I will be meeting with our solicitor to discuss some ideas, and I had also discussed them with a meeting that I had at 11 a.m. this morning with City Administrator Mr. Campos. So I plan to bring some additional information to an upcoming committee meeting. And Councilman Pinnabone mentioned the community meeting with the 13th Street Wood Avenue warehouse developers that was held last Thursday evening. I agree, a little bit of a rocky start. Their emotions were high, but I think overall the feedback that I've gotten from the public is positive. I think more information and transparency is important, so I hope to continue these meetings for future projects. That's all I have.
Okay, Public Safety, Dr. Ruggles.
I have no report.
Public Works, Mr. Ettinger.
I have no report.
Administration, Mrs. Sultana. Absent again. Administration, Reporter Solicitor, Mr. Shear.
I just would ask if after you vote on 13, bill number 30, that's the sales agreement, representatives of DNL National Heritage Corridor are here so you could fully sign it and so that we have a binding agreement before the end of the year. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I also will give out later, because you mentioned the Christmas tree. I'm going to bribe each one of you with a piece of Hanukkah gelt. There's chocolate inside here. It's under $25, so you could accept it.
Thank you, Mr. Shear. And the lighting of the menorah is December 30th, I think. Let me check. Yeah, December 30th. So I hope to see you there.
They do it
What
at
time is
home.
it, Mayor?
6 o'clock. 5:30. I'm sorry, 5:30. Mayor report. Mr. Pinnabone talked about the holiday reception that Governor Shapiro had and his visit the next day to Easton, which was very good. I want to thank the small businesses that he visited. He visited Sneaker Box, Sweet Girls, and Casa 401, Queso 401. To tout Easton's resurgence as an example of what other communities in the Commonwealth should look forward to doing. And he wanted to discuss Main Street matters in his Pennsylvania Sites program, which we expect to use both. The Winter Village is now closed for the year, so starting Thursday, they'll start cleaning up the center square area and take down the ice skating rink, etc. And the only other thing I want to talk about is the warehouse at 13th Street. We're still working with, we had a good meeting with the developer last week. And that was arranged, and I think we come to a solution for keeping trucks out of the West Ward. So we'll talk about that at the Planning Commission meeting. I also have reports of an email from the Ken Green, the chairman of the Planning Commission, that wants information, and I don't know why they are not given. Joel, we talked about this at our solicitors meeting. I don't know why they don't have those. I mean, they should all be part of the packet, and they will be from now on.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Mr. Green is requesting may be just a matter of timing, because the meeting is until January 15th, and that may even get postponed because one of the things, this is on the warehouse, one of the things that they're waiting for is to see if PennDOT actually has something definitive as opposed to right now, which seems to be
Nebulous at best.
nebulous. So that could be the explanation, but still the commission's looking for more details on these projects in advance if the staff is considering that in their recommendations.
Okay, moving right along to report of city administrator.
I don't have a report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
We all think.
Merry Christmas. And we got on the P word. That took us beyond our 20-minute limit. Old business, there's no correspondence, unfinished business.
Bill number 30, an ordinance approving the purchase and sale agreement between the City of Easton and the DNL National Heritage Corridor.
So moved.
Motion. Second.
In that,
Introduce.
just a second, let me get to it.
Oh,
You might be right.
I don't have to check.
Get there like, y'all get there early. Yeah, I got it.
Go ahead.
No, it seems like I saw in that, is that 30?
Yes.
Raspberry
Oh,
Pi.
no, yeah. It's not this one, it's
All right.
it's later on.
Roll call.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye,
Bill number 31, an ordinance amending Chapter 285 fees.
Motion.
Second.
I thought we were gonna. Okay. No, I'm fine.
Then about it.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Mayor, you interrupted me, Mayor. Now you're making me think. Did we update that part I called about this morning? Because right now it has 0.
Eliminated 70. The line through the 70.
Right,
So
so
it should be made as a motion here at City Council, because it's on the agenda.
a motion on City Council to re-add the 70?
No, to take out the line across the 70.
Well, there's two, H and J, I believe. Hold on 1 second. The one is X through everything, which you did away with that, which I understand. And then on I, it says for customers who have contracted for more than 20,
We're getting rid of the volume discount, right?
right, so 24-hour pass shall be, and the 70 per pass is crossed out.
Right.
So is there no fee for pass? We're eliminating that too?
There's no volume discount. We're eliminating the line through the 70 should be eliminated.
All right, so the whole thing should be eliminated then?
Yeah.
Okay, so H and I are eliminated.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you just, give me a second?
Go ahead.
I wanna take a look at that too. What page is that on?
28542. I don't have the page number in front of me.
On the PDF?
Oh, yeah, on the agenda. It's it's fee 285-42.
I'll get there. I'm looking. I saw the same thing, that it seemed to be a provision there that was negated because of the earlier change and should just been eliminated.
I just wanna make sure it reads.
Right.
Yeah.
So H was all eliminated. I just want to make sure I's all eliminated
What do
too.
you-
I did not get to see that, I know we talked about it, I just wanna make sure it's.
Here, I got it up right here.
Page 74,
H and I are both eliminated.
All right.
It's a volume discount.
page 74 of
No, I
95.
understand that, Mayor, I understand the concept, I just wanna make sure.
It's page 74 of 95.
H and J.
Well, it would be,
H
I,
gets eliminated.
and then I should also probably be eliminated because,
That's right. Oh, okay, that's.
Which I'm fine with, but we only had 70 on I eliminated, so I wanted to make sure the whole thing is eliminated.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you should probably just eliminate I also.
Yeah, we did.
and if you do that, it is definitely okay to make that change because when the $70 was crossed out, when I read that, I was saying, well, okay, it's not applicable anymore. So that crossing out should have just been extended for the whole paragraph.
Right.
Correct. So do we need to make a separate motion?
No.
Okay, then we're good.
Which, well, you're gonna have to re-letter everything else, so, or put reserved under I if you want to. Somewhere along the line, you gotta make the rest of it consistent, because we have H and then we have,
Right,
J and
H and
K
I,
says
right.
reserved, so maybe what you do is delete it and put
All four
reserved.
of them.
But all four is reserved, that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
And they'll
So
provide
you-
for employee parking at $20 a month.
All right.
So we need to set that up by January 1. Dr. Ruggles.
Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe another minor point here, but it was a bit confusing to me when I read it on 8529, item 3. A through G, the first A through G are just highlighted. They're not lined out. And I'm assuming those should have been lined out. I mean, highlighting in previous things was just pointing where there was a change. And I see down below in red are A through F.
Dr. Ruggles, what was
So I think that was being replaced, right?
what page was that? Or what was
It's
the chapter?
28529.
It's page 16 of 5,
Yeah,
68, page
I got
68 of
68
95.
on my
68 of 95.
Yeah. Should those just been lined out instead of highlighted?
No, they should have been, they're highlighted because they're changing, all of them are highlighted, actually.
Yeah, but then you have.
We
A
raised
through
everything
F down
$25.
below. And I mean,
And you know what else is not on there is tractor and tractor trailer parking, which we raised already to $250, and tractor trailers is $500. I think it in here. It should be in there. We already introduced it.
I believe, to Dr. Ruggles' point, I do believe that the original A through G should be eliminated and,
A through
And-
G eliminated.
yeah, and then A
it should be
replaced with
lined
A
out,
through,
right?
correct.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Bill number 32, an ordinance amending section 535, non-resident taxation.
Move.
Second.
This is the one.
Any, Dr. Ruggles?
Just on this one, it's penciled in, but it says enacted by council on December 11th, at least on my thing. It was introduced to council on the 11th. We're voting on it today.
Correct.
So
Oh.
it should be enacted today, correct?
No, no. You put it into effect on the 11th because
It gets into effect on January 1st.
of approving the budget.
Budget?
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Mr. Shear. As part of the budget introduction, we eliminated non-resident
Yeah.
EIT.
Yeah, no, I recall that. I'm just trying to figure out why, if this is being presented for adoption today,
We're voting on it today, yeah.
But it won't come into
yeah,
effect
it
the
would
next
seem,
year.
it would seem to me that we would put in today's date there instead. Enacted by council. If you vote for it, it should then be December 23rd, 2024.
Right.
Introduced December 11 and then
Right.
Does it
enacted.
need an introduction? We are not allowed by state law to have that tax anymore.
Well, you did it already. I mean, you
No, we
introduced
introduced
it
it
2
already,
weeks
but
ago.
But I'm asking you, do we even need it? I mean, we are required by state law not to drop it.
Well, I mean, I think it's good
change
house.
in our
I think it's good housekeeping
Okay.
to do it,
All right.
because otherwise you don't know why, and now you know why.
So we'll be voting on this today, correct?
You'll be
And
you'll be
we'll-
you'll be voting on it today, and when it's finally written, December 11 will become a 2 and a 3 instead of a 1 and a 1.
That's what I was gonna.
Very
thank you.
easily done with a pen.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Okay. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pettibone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Did I just hear a cheer come from up the hill there?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, I've been cheering all day.
We have 4 new bills for introduction.
Go ahead.
Bill number 34, an ordinance amending chapter 285, trash and sewer fees.
Introduce.
Bill number 35, an ordinance fixing the tax rate for all city purposes for the year 2025.
Introduce.
There's a change to that. There's an
There is-
amendment. The amendment is as per the sheet that was given out by Mr. Lisinecki, setting the general fund allocation at 13.3 mils, debt fund at 7.2 mils, and recreation fund at 4.35 for a total of 24.95 mils. So all those people who say that we didn't raise taxes because we're at the state maximum, they're wrong. Blatantly wrong.
Mayor, question.
We could raise taxes 12 mils, and I'm not recommending it.
Just for the general fund allocation, right?
Yeah.
Just for that one, not the other. Question for you. The debt,
The other ones don't have limits.
right. Debt fund allocation goes up and down, right? So you guys doing your great, what'd you call it? Hook and swoop, Philly, whatever you call it.
Scoop and toss.
Scoop and toss. You drop the mills down from 8 something down to 7.2 something, and then I'm assuming it went into the savings went into the general or the rec fund. Is there ever a time where we drop our debt and rec fund and or general, and we can give it to the taxpayers as a reduction?
That was only a one-time thing, too.
That was scoop and toss. All it did was save us money during COVID.
Well, overall, your payments are lower, right? Because you
Yeah, because of
eliminated
COVID.
debt. Right. So then the allocation to your debt fund dropped from 8.36 to 7.22. So that
Just so we're clear.
just shy of 1%.
Well, just so we're clear on the history, the scoop and toss made us whole.
Right.
Because we lost significant amount of revenue, and we needed to cover the gap. So it assisted covering the gap for multiple years. Now, going to your question, what,
So right now, the mills that we're allocating the 29% to the debt fund, 7.22. But prior to the scoop and toss, we are at 8.36, 8 point something. So that percent, let's call it for sake of just for easy math,
that drop, yes?
that dropped. So I'm assuming you put it into the general fund of the rec because it didn't drop to 24.95.
It went to the fund balance in those years. It went-
I'm just trying to figure out where it went. That's all. I know you put it somewhere.
It went into general fund.
It's still the same amount.
Correct. It went to the general fund.
It went to the general fund.
That's all I have.
And the rec fund is, you can't touch it. You can't put money in or take money out. It's only for recreation, open space. It can only be used for that. And it's generated by the open space recreation fund that the developers are paying.
Well, it's also, it's similar, that our practice is that, we make sure that, based on the 2011 policies that council set,
Right.
that we fund the general fund at a minimum amount, and also insurance and healthcare. So, just to go back, and I think, let me add on to what I think you're asking, is we're not even at 100% yet.
Right.
We still have ways to go. We have a
For for general fund.
for the general fund, on
Right.
those three buckets, we're still a couple $1 million away from where we should be.
So one of the people that had the question before I got on council, or when I got on, of the 24.95, that's not the overall limit. That 24.95 is only general fund, and
Right.
we're currently at 13.38.
Right.
All right. So if you eliminate the debt and the rec, we still have ways to go before we're capped
That's,
on the general fund.
That's correct.
that's right.
Thank you.
Bill number 36, an ordinance amending chapter 560, vehicle and traffic, handicap parking.
Motion, so moved. Read. Introduced.
Introduce.
And bill number 37, an ordinance amending section 595-20, dimensional criteria for downtown district.
So moved. So introduced. Okay, at this point in our meeting, we're at public comment on any matter concerning the city of Easton. Comments, questions, concerns? Anyone? Seeing none?
Mayor, I don't have one, just a question. I'd like to see you make some amendments or bring it to us for amendment on the code of conduct to include absenteeism.
That's in there,
By
right?
no, it's not, by council members.
It's not in there.
It's not in there, I believe. There's 3 absentees, that's something.
That's
Gotta
for
look at it again.
ABCs. It's for ABCs.
Okay.
So, Mayor,
For authorities, boards, and commissions, not for city council.
if you could put something for our next committee, just to
Sure.
bring it for review,
All
that's all I have.
Anyone else?
What was in there? My bad.
Council? I'll move for adjournment.
Should be in there.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Thank you, Crystal.
Do you want me to take a, roll call?
By the way, the
Oh, thank
nut and pretzel mix that's on your desk was made by my wife.
That's why it's
It
good.
was.
And the shirt's made by John Huffman locally.
We were all like that. Thank you.